starting with some of our practitioners introducing themselves, and then ladies first on deck. One Love and Wellness. Introduce yourself, Doc, or
Peace,
Asha.
family. Yes. I'm not on the show presenting today, but here in support. One love to everyone and looking forward to hearing what everyone has to share.
All right, thank you. Uh, our speakers this morning, we're going to start with the ladies. Safan Pickett of Royal Reset. She's going to speak on some topics that are going to give us some tips and hints from her perspective. Good morning, Safan.
Good morning, everyone. Grand Risings, Hetep and Wholeness. Happy to be here. Can't wait to get started in this topic of memory and magic. So, whenever you're ready, we can dive in.
Okay. And following her is going to be Master Asha. Give us your titles. What are your titles again?
Yes. My person holds the vibration of a Kemetic metaphysical warrior priest and serves as a soul healer, as my person's life as an initiate in the breath of life training meditation initiation system. In short, a boat initiate.
Okay. Uh, and so memory and magic are the topics for today. I have some things I may contribute somewhere along the way, but I'd like for you guys to get your nuggets and treasures to bestow upon us out of the way. We're starting with Royal Reset from the natural perspective. Miss Safan, take it
Yes,
away.
so
Take it away. Well, we may have a little bit of. Are you there?
there we go. Yeah, I got sent backstage for a hot second, but I'm back. In any case, so memory and magic. So today we're definitely going to be talking about some things that light up our life. And in fact, memory, if we really think about it, is all we have. Because when we have an experience, we live our lives, the moment that it's done, it becomes the past. And the only thing that we have left remaining of it is our memory of it, right? It imprints things on our psyche that last lifetimes. So memory in and of itself is a major portion of our life and our existence as a people. Memory informs our decision making processes. So, for example, you have a small child, right? You think, oh, their imaginations run wild, and all they're doing is experiencing things through their senses, and they're processing and they're learning and they're growing. And the small child may see something as simple as a science experiment, right? A science experiment, maybe where something simple, something changes color. But that imprint of that single experiment might influence their dreams about becoming a chemist. It might influence the school that they go to in order to study science. It might influence or be a catalyst to their entire future as a biochemist. And that, in and of itself, affects all of us because who knows what their discoveries might bring, you know? So they definitely are super super important, and in fact it's one of the things that we kind of don't talk about, but we always say, oh, my memory is bad, or you hear people talk about, I have a hard time remembering names and things like that, but really, let's look into what's going on inside our brain. So memories are in fact simply chemical responses that are triggered in your brain. You have a bunch of different areas in your brain that are responsible for memory, but most of the storage happens towards the mid and the frontal lobe. So you've got your temporal lobe and your hippocampus, you've got your amygdala, your neocortex, just all these crazy parts of your brain that have to synergistically work together in order to create this thing called a memory, right? So really all it is a chemical response. that's triggered by electricity. So the impulses that go down your neurons, right? They're triggered by electricity, and they send more chemical releases to other parts of your brain. So what happens? You have data goes in, you interpret that data, you store a little bit of it, short-term memory, right? Then you kind of judge and evaluate it. And that all happens kind of in this area. So is this something that's important to my life? Is this something that's vital to my life? Is this something dangerous? All that stuff happens kind of in this area. And then another set of reactions happen where either your body says this is super important and I need to hold on to it, and it gets stored in your long-term memory, or it's just a fleeting experience and you might have just remnants of the experience. So really, memories have the potential also to interact with each other. Sometimes they even get mixed up with each other or intertwined with your imagination. It can make you smell scents and taste things that aren't even there. So I remember I was having a discussion about food. You know, I'm agriculture. I'm a foodie, so we were talking about food, and somebody had mentioned something about what was it? Pickled onions. And immediately I could taste the vinegar because I really enjoy, right? So I had the experience, I processed it. It was important to me, so I saved it. So my body sent all those messages to other areas of my body that have nothing to do with the memory, right? And actually made me re experience it, even though it wasn't happening right there in front of me. Like that's magic, y'all. Okay. You know, memories can also, when you think about people going through things like trauma or bad experiences, those memories can make you not only see but also feel things that aren't there. Even think about people who have had amputations, you know, the phantom limb syndrome. They're still trying to explain it, but really it's the memory of your limb that's a part of you that still remains with you, and you actually feel the memory of your body, even though it no longer exists. So memories are super important. They're super important. And allopathic medicine definitely has not been able to explain it. There have been a couple of theories that have come out, you know, as far as storing memories in your genetic code. But even with that, we kind of dig in and we're like, okay, so what really is your genetics? You know, they're also just chemicals too. You know, you have your DNA linkages, your the DNA ladder. It's just a bunch of chemicals. So from a holistic perspective, we know better. You know, we know that our memories are us recalling ancestral traditions like Ebonics, okay? Where our affinity to follow moon cycles. Like all that kind of stuff is not found in textbooks. Those are part of our memories. So, if it's not really from a chemical response, because anything can happen with chemicals under the right circumstances, right? Then what really is the source of our memory? So, under my tradition, memories come from our source, our divine source. So the thing that connects all of us, the things that connect me to you, to the outside environment, to the galaxies beyond us, right? So those are the sources of our memories. And that energy never goes away. It's just transmuted and transformed, just like the data that comes into your brain. So therein lies the magic, right? So enhancing your memory would mean enhancing your connection to your source, right? Doesn't matter what spiritual background you come from, we all believe in a source, right? And our memory is enhancing the connection to our source. So that means making a clear pathway. So many of the herbs and foods that you're gonna use to enhance your memory, right, enhance your ability to access this ancestral information, to access even what happened yesterday, they're going to work over time, and they're going to work best when your body, of course, is in an optimal nutritional state. So think about it like this: when you're fasting, and you're doing a long-term fast, right? You may notice a dramatic difference in your ability to recall information. You may notice a dramatic difference in your ability to highlight or even interpret the information around you. It goes significantly up around days 16 to 20. So that means after all that cleansing is done, after you've addressed your liver, your kidneys, your GI tract, your lungs, now we get a clear pathway, right, to our brain. Isn't that like awesome? Like, whew. So that means that your body is now a proper vessel to ensure adequate circulation of oxygen, balanced hormones, and circulating glucose, right? So those are the three things that we need to make sure that our brain uses to process and function information: oxygen and glucose. And the hormones control mostly the glucose, but a lot of other things. So we're not going to get into major details with that today. So before I get into our enhancers, let's get into some of the things that may interfere with our memory. And the primary one that I want to talk about today, peace, Alfonso, you're so awesome. The primary one that I want to talk about today is stress. So stress causes your body to divert sugar, right, and energy to short-term memory function. Okay, so instead of using that sugar to do the things that you want to hold on to long term, your body is like, okay, I'm in a stressful situation, fight or flight. So I need short term recall. I need to think and make a decision really quickly. And it's not going to give you any tools in order to store those memories. So when you think about someone giving you a recall on what happened to you in a crazy situation amongst your friends, and you're like, why are the details all kind of like all over the place? Well, that's because of your stress hormones, cortisol primarily. Cortisol will tell your body you don't need to remember this as accurately as you normally do. You need to get in and out of this situation. And unfortunately, many of us live in a state of chronic stress, so our memory is chronically interrupted. The long-term storage of our memories are chronically interrupted. And not only that, that means if we can't store things long term, then how are we accessing things in the short term? You know, that's interrupted as well. So definitely your recall might take some time and definitely may be a bit, quite a bit distorted. So another major culprit I wanted to bring up, and this is really a PSA for the young and the elder: aluminum, your tin pots, your aluminum foil, your baker sheets, all of those things. Aluminum is highly reactive. So if you're putting aluminum on something that's like citrus or oily, you're 9 times out of 10, you're definitely absorbing some aluminum out of the products that you use to store your food or cook your food. And aluminum has been proven to be a contributing factor to dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay, so they literally have taken apart the brains of people who have passed on that were severely or not even not so severely affected by Alzheimer's. And in the hallmark signs of Alzheimer's, there's this thing called an amyloid plaque. So they take these amyloid plaques and they break them apart, and one of the major constituents inside them is aluminum. So throw out the aluminum. We're no longer using aluminum foil. We're no longer using aluminum pots. We're no longer using the baker sheets that are aluminum. We're no more because they're building up inside of your brain and they're interfering with all of your thought processes. Okay. So yeah, aluminum definitely is an element in your body that you do need in very small amounts, but the way that we use them is entirely too excessive. So I've given you two issues um, that relate to circulation interfering with your memory, right? So now let's take a look at a couple of herbs and foods that we can use to enhance your memory. And I think you're going to see kind of a correlation between circulation, stimulation, and memory enhancement. Okay, so two things. Dr. Yu has spent actually quite a bit of time, so I'm not going to go too deep into these two particular foods. You got to check back on, we've got to rewatch our episodes, y'all, because the information is all there. But walnuts and berries, both of those fit the category of the doctrine of signatures. They look like brains, okay? They're dark. Anything dark, black, the deep purples, the deep blues, the deep browns, and things like that. Dark, and they look like a brain, okay? So they definitely have beneficial effects on circulation, number one, and brain activity. So I'm gonna stick with. I said I have such a list. Let me give you three. Okay, so I'm gonna give you three. One not so common, and two super common things that you probably have never thought of as enhancing brain function, memory, or even helping you access your spiritual source in a more effective way. Rosemary, one of my favorite culinary herbs. Rosemary is bright, it's livening, it tastes good, it smells good, it's very, very stimulating. Rosemary is actually used to help you clear both your conscious mind and improve your memory. It's a tonic and it's a stimulant. It's definitely helpful, especially in this CV season. Definitely helpful as far as boosting your immunity. But rosemary can also help relax a little bit of nervous tension. So we're decreasing our stress hormones. It's a stimulant, so it's definitely going to help you be breaking up cholesterol. It's antioxidant. It's clearing the pathway for your blood to circulate. It also helps alleviate spasms, so relaxing all of your muscles, relieving headaches, migraines, that kind of thing, even menstrual pain. So we're seeing that this is relaxing and it's boosting your it's stimulating your circulatory system, and that in turn enhances your memory. Okay, so you have a clear, open passageway, free flowing energy. Okay, the second one, the not so common one, I'm gonna go with is camu camu. Tastes great, lots of vitamin C. It's awesome. It's liver protected. Let's see what else. It definitely boosts your immune system. Definitely gives you plenty of energy. Camu camu, frankly, is fun to drink. But the awesome part about it, it can help you also reduce your mood swings. It reduces anxiety, and it enhances your memory and concentration, on top of giving you that boost and energy that classic, people commonly recognize camu camu for doing. So again, we have something that's stimulating your mind. It's helping to open up your vessels by reducing stress, right? And in turn, enhances your memory. All right. And then the last one I'm going to bring to you guys today is another one that's so versatile. And I swear, like every year, I think I learned a little bit more and more about this particular culinary herb: cinnamon. So, cinnamon is hot and it's spicy and it's lively and it's full bodied, and it just does so much for the body. It literally improves circulation by increasing the oxygen supply to your cells. Okay, y'all, the oxygen supply to your cells. So your brain needs oxygen. I think I'm gonna find me some cinnamon. All right. Cinnamon is also known to be an aphrodisiac for both men and women. And that's primarily because it increases circulation. So opens the flow, increases the amount of available oxygen, instant memory enhancing. It definitely has been used to improve the activity, so improve the functioning of your brain. It also has been shown to increase your memory and your attention span. So focusing down onto what exactly you're doing. Um, Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting all distracted by y'all comments. Keep commenting, y'all. Tell us what the deal is. What was I talking about? Your attention span, right? So being able to sit down and focus and do one thing at one time and give your full total attention to it. Cinnamon, okay. And it also is very relaxing for your nerves. So I mean, every single one of these things that I've gone through has been like pretty much threefold as far as what it does to enhance your memory. So now that we've opened the way, right? You now have literally the keys to unlocking all the mysteries of memory. You have an open access, right? Open the gates to your divine ancestry. And you have all the tools to facilitate your healing. Once you can access and remember, the information is going to automatically come through them downloads. So I encourage you to skip the trial and error and connect to your source. Remember and follow the instructions you receive. What's up, y'all?
One Love and Wellness, Safan. Beautiful way to break down the science in manageable language we can understand. Valuable tools and tips. Thank you so much. I'm glad this is recorded so we can go back and re-listen so we can take better notes, because I'm taking notes too. And then also, Rosemary, that to me sounds like, as above, so below kind of thing. Because like you said, it not only can help elevate, but it energizes the physical as well as the spiritual connection and so on. So
That whole part.
thank you so much for that information.
Sure.
Yes. And then I don't know if I introduced myself. I know this is kind of hindsight. I'm Precious Mother Love of Love Plus Art Equals Wellness. I'm a sacred arts curator. I'm a part of the Collective Health Initiative here. And our next speaker is one of the founding fathers of this organization, and he's going to speak on some of his lifestyle practices and how it enhances and cultivates memory, and from his point of view, both memory and magic. Master Chef.
Right on, right on. Give thanks, precious mother love. And before my person begins sharing its testimony, its story, its experience with memory and magic, just want to also give a shout out to our other practitioners who are actively involved in one form or another with this broadcast. Sister Kat New, Geechee Goddess, women's specialist, also Rooted in Nature founder, Sister Clarice, who deals with the natural products. Also, Sister Precious Porter, our clinician in the house, who deals with clinical trauma therapy, things like that. And also Mommy Lane, our wellness warrior, comedic yoga instructor, and councilwoman for the town of Capitol Heights and of the Committee for Community Health and Environment. A shout out to all the other chief practitioners holding it down. Right on, right on. Yeah. And so with that, memory and magic. Yes, and again, since it's a fun, she put some stuff out there. My person took some notes as well. Very heavy, but at the same time, very practical. And one of the things my person want to begin with, just to add with what she mentioned about the stress aspect. And so for my person, stress and memory definitely have a correlation with the work that my person does as a metaphysician, coming from the emotional and mental body perspective of healing first. And with that stress, and when it comes to memory, my person has observed within his own self that whether it be stress or a mild emotional state, and just as a reminder, when my person mentions being in an emotional state or being emotional, We're not suggesting that it's good or bad. It is what it is because emotions simply denote energy in motion. And as spiritual beings within a physical body, emotions is what we have to interact with the world. So emotions, we all have emotions. Now, what happens when it comes to memory and emotions, it's particularly more like stress, anxiety, excitement even. If we're in a state and we're vibing off of those emotions, sometimes we may not remember where we placed our cell phone, where we placed the keys, where is the remote. Sometimes it can even be in the midst of a train of thought. We could be sharing something and it feels so good, very orgasmic to ourselves, and then all of a sudden we lose it. What was I just talking about? Where are we going with this? Can I recall such a thing? And again, most of us have probably experienced these type of experiences. And from my person's perspective, it comes back down to, again, being in somewhat of an emotional state, high emotional state rather, and or stressful state, one or the other. And what my person has found, the breath is a wonderful tool to kind of bring things back to center, which can be looked at as magic. Meaning a lot of us have probably had the experience of when we find ourselves, let's take this emotional state, for example. Sometimes we can be like angry, upset, in a state that we know is not right. And, sometimes it's good to be upset and angry, but sometimes we don't want to be in that state. Or let's say worried, depressed, there's a state we might not want to be in. And my person has found the breath is a wonderful tool that can instantaneously change our states of being. So much so even science have done studies and have a correlation with the number of breaths per minute, as well as as they call the different states of the brain. As they say, the alpha, theta, delta, beta states denotes different states of consciousness activity going on. And there's definitely a correlation between the breath and our states of awareness, meditative state. And when it comes to memory, again, just throwing it out there, most of us have probably encountered a time when we have lost something, forgot something, misplaced something, and we just simply calmed down, almost forgot about it, because there was so much energy going to this thing. What was it? Where is it? Oh, I got it. And then we say, you know what? Forget about it. It'll come when it comes, and so we become more relaxed. And a lot of times that thing we're searching for comes up. So again, from my person's perspective, there is definitely a correlation between the breath and memory. And as Sister Stefan mentioned about having this recall, not just recall, total recall, meaning recall anything really that happens in the creation since creation began. What my person is suggesting is this. My person holds the perspective, belief, that there is a cosmic mind, if you will, or a collective mind, if you will. And the same as individuals, we have our own mind, in which the theory is, which my person embrace, that through, again, the breath, some may call it meditation, or simply slowing down, one can begin to remember things that go back, way back, recall things that go way back, maybe even past lifetimes kind of memories. And as an FYI, there is a thing called past life regressions, in which there are some therapists who are trained in assisting others with going back in time to such things, to discover, uncover, remember what one was doing in what was called a prior life before this incarnation. And my person has a theory that through one's own volition, through quieting one's own vibration, and going within in memory with the breath, it's possible to recall one's prior lives and or to tap into what we may call the Akashic records, or the cosmic consciousness mind, or cosmic consciousness, or the mind of the creator. Again, these theories that are out there that my person embrace and hold, and have this theory of a lifestyle of practicality that will prove these theories to be true. So in a nutshell, the breath can be a tool to assist one in simply short-term memory in the now. Oh, where is this? What did I do with, what was I just? Calm down. Okay. As well as, okay, why did I come to earth? What's my purpose here? What's the reason, going back like that? And for my person specifically, that is how it uses its memory. It began to say, okay, let's stay grounded in the now, right? So we don't misplace anything. In the meantime, let us use this breath to remember, to recall its purpose on why we're here. And again, the breath can be a very magical tool for remembering, recalling certain things. And it is also a bridge to help further facilitate even more magic. Because as we speak about magic, generally speaking, most of us may be familiar with like the Merlins, Merlin the Magician, Harry Potter, Hogwarts School. As well as there are some magicians, illusionists who may be on YouTube and may have come across, like a David Blaine or Chris Angel. Back in the day, there was a David Copperfield, who was pretty, bad, as they say. And that's one form of magic. However, since we are in the health class that you never had, and our focus is on health, we're going to look at the magic as it pertains to health. And what my person likes to remind everyone is that in some form of a fashion, we all are magicians. We all perform magic at some point in time. Even if you look at the concept of the breath once again, if we can remember a time that we was in such an emotional state, or maybe even a pattern, better yet, there have been a pattern where every time someone says something or mentions a certain individual name, or something happens, there has been a pattern. As Sister Stefan mentioned, a wiring, the storing of the chemical process in the brain, things have been stored to cause a certain response. So that's memory. Habitual responses are memories, right? So what we can say is that the breath has the power, says, and immediately transform that vibration from whatever it does not want to be to whatever your person wants it to be. So again, when it comes to magic and health, the breath can be used as one of those tools for magic. And with that, as we get out into more of this, examples of how we're all magicians in some form of fashion, let's even look at casting spells, right? Casting spells. So much so, even in a general sense, a very, very general sense. When we write, what are we doing? Each word that we write is a process. And this process of writing one word, as we write one word down, this process is called spelling. As you write a word, you're spelling. So the theory is, from the metaphysical perspective, the more words you write, the more that you're spelling. One is spelling. And have an intention in mind with what one is spelling. And since this written, whatever it is out in the universe, it may have an effect based upon the spells that was cast in those written words. And again, more specifically, since we're talking about health, one can look at writing down one's own goals. There's a theory, again, the theory is writing down one's goal and revisiting that goal, looking at it. And as one looks at it, evoking these energies of excitement, of, as they say, the vibration as though you already have the thing. So as we look at these words, write these words as though we already have these things, the law of attraction says they're bound to appear as such. Again, time plus consistency equal results. Over time, these things are bound to happen. That's the theory that my person lives by. So again, in a sense, as far as casting spells, we all have kind of dibbled and dabbled with casting a few spells here and there. Getting mad and kind of cursing somebody out. That can't be considered casting of spells. Nonetheless, some the more. There's also a form of magic when it comes to self-healing that my person likes to look at as sorcery. as a metaphysician, my person really digs the sorcery aspect. And the sorcery aspect really looks at more so intention, holding the intention. And my person, of course, likes to rock with the rocks, crystals. So rocking with the crystals. Crystals holds the intention. That's all they do. Whatever the crystal is, there are thousands of crystals out there, and they hold the vibration, right? Can it be kind of magical? And so what my person being reminded from the crystals is to hold the vibration, which again comes back down to this breath. The more relaxed we are, the more calm we are, the less distracted we become about things that are not concerned with our purpose. So to use the breath to remember our purpose, then we use the breath to stay calm and relaxed. Then as we give our thoughts, our attention to a certain thing, the more we do this over time with our intention, again, things tend to manifest. So generally speaking, whether it be casting spells or sorcery, my person just throwing it out there, we all kind of dibble and dabble with a little magic here and there. Now, specifically, as my person shares real quick on how it uses its own elements, the elements in its own particular lifestyle to further facilitate its own memory and magic as such. My person like to say healing is elementary. As Sister Stefan mentioned about optimal health. Optimal health is like the foundation, my person like to call fertile soil. And so what my person does as a lifestyle practice to facilitate fertile soil in the spirit, to help its memory, total recall, mainly remembering the self and how to operate in the character of self, as well as the magicianship of transforming oneself, specifically into that Kemetic metaphysical warrior priest, which can be synonymous with a shaman, a spiritual guru, a yogi, a Christ, a Buddha, etc. Nonetheless, something more. This healing is elementary practicality my person speaks of is the elements. And real quick, metaphysically speaking, starting with water, on a daily basis, my person drinks plenty of water. Charged water with the crystal, the shungite. So in a sense, drinking water, my person looks at drinking half his body weight in ounces. 3 of these would do it. So half his body weight and an elixir, because the crystal charges the water. It's quite magical. Drinking this water helps provide fertile soil. Water. Earth. My person is a fan of the plant-based living lifestyle. Eat plenty of plants, herbs, right? They're for medicine. Again, that's the earth element. On a daily basis, keep plenty of plants. And of course, we rock with the rocks, the earth element. And then we have the fire element. On a daily basis, my person exercise. Exercise on a daily basis. Again, as Stefan mentioned, the storing, the chemical process. Not just there's chemical wiring that's stored, electricity that's stored. There's also energy we call stagnant energy. A lot of times we have pain in certain parts of our body because our energy is stagnant. So the exercise helps free up that energy. So we can begin to create different ways of being as magic. And the last of the elements, well, not quite last, next to last is the breath, the air element. Again, my person is a fan so much of the breath that it created a whole lifestyle devoted to just simply breathing, which my person calls the breath of life training meditation initiation system. And so using this breath as a tool to help facilitate memory, as well as to change my person from where it is to who it came to be, is involved in this system. Again, invoking the other elements, metaphysically speaking. And the last one is the rest piece. Because again, as Stefan mentioned about the fasting, sometimes it can be too tired to recall anything. Like, sleep deprivation is what they call it. The sleep deprivation sometimes is really kind of hard to engage in total recollection. So rest is very important as far as the element goes. It's more or less connecting with the etheric world, the ethos, the ancestral world, the dream world. So in a nutshell, healing is elementary. And just a little quick note, about the crystals that my person uses in his water. This is a shungite crystal. It is an excellent crystal for making elixirs. As you do your research, it will tell you. One of the things that it does is attributed to the shungite. It is a detoxifier. It is, the theory has it, it is designed to remove any impurities in the body that shouldn't be there. In fact, it's like a filter. So yes, it's a filter for the water, the shungite crystals. And again, in a nutshell, that's how my person looks at memory and magic and how they relates to health. And more specifically, my person as an individual, how to use this information on what it knows about memory and magic to actually remember why it came, its purpose, and to, again, create that over the course of time. And give thanks for allowing my person to share.
Wow, Master Chef, thank you for sharing. So, I mean, there's so much that could be said on each of these topics, memory and magic, and you both have shared a plethora of information. Again, I'm still taking notes, but I do want to mention a couple of quick things since this is somewhat my lane. Because I do the vision board, the 2020 vision board projects have been going really well, both in person and virtual, and has used a lot of the things that you guys mentioned in numerous ways. Because I do mention the cleansing part, the detoxing part, which helps you to line up with clearing the pathways so that your intentions can flow properly. And I guess this is where I would say my 5 words of wellness come into play, because it starts with hydrate and ends with flow. But I did want to mention, it used to be called that magic was anything that we couldn't explain. And it was something that definitely the church didn't want us to be involved in, because it would allow us to be connected more so to our ancestors, to have more of our lineage, the connection to what our melanin helps us and allows us to do. So from a scientific point, Safan helped me with being able to understand some, she's formerly a nurse, so she's got this perspective that I never actually applied. So I really appreciate that. But I do recall back in the day, and I'm going to skip around just a little bit because I only have a little nugget of time that I want to work with. But I used to take ginkgo biloba, and that was something that I felt helped me with my memory, because at that point I was manager of up to 200 people nationwide, and I couldn't write down everything fast enough to remember everything that was necessary for me to be involved and to stay on top of and to keep up with. So I felt like both the ginkgo biloba, but then also doing brain exercises, things that like brain teasers, crossword puzzles. That was something that my grandmother told me, even at her age of 99, that she enjoyed doing crossword puzzles and brain teasers, anagrams, and things like that, because they also help you to build new neurons and new pathways for your for all of your thoughts and electronic transmissions to transpire. The synapses can flow a little more to the quicker connections. But then I also felt that not only does the exercise help, because I don't know if you've ever seen, but I've noticed that there are people who, when their brains expand, when they are actually exercising their brain to the point of it being a muscle and the muscle expanding just like a muscle would as you build your muscle, I noticed their craniums get bigger. And if you've ever seen Pinky and the Brain, he's got this huge cranium. But that is and muscle, and you can't exercise it so that you can have better access to, I guess, the field that Lucy was talking about. Instead of using such a small percentage of it, you can access a larger percentage. But magic is the stones. Law of attraction is something that's considered somewhat of a magical nature. You just have to know the laws and the principles to utilize it. Karma is, if you did not know what karma was, it would seem magical. We have begun to realize and recognize a lot more of the technicalities of long-term views of things, what actually happens. It could be karma from this life, or as Dr. Master Chef said, of former lives, that things that perhaps even in your lineage that your family members have done, depending on if it's a family sort of thing, which, has happened that I see it on movies. I'm not going to say that for sure I know what my family's lineage is, but if my grandmother did something major in the world of a major impact level, I would either reap the good or the bad of it. That energy would be attached to perhaps my bloodline. But then also people use, like we've mentioned, wands. That is something else that I am, and I have one right here. And this is made from the wood that they used in the Harry Potter movie. The wood is Hollywood or holy wood. And it is, this one is enhanced by some stones, turquoise, which is one that is used by the Indians. For them, they say that is a stone that helps you to connect your third eye to your crown, and then to the ancestors, or to the collective memory, or the collective spirit. But before quantum science was considered quantum science, everything in that lane was considered magic, until they could actually, like the metaphysics and metaphysical came out of that wanting to apply. Because what happens is, how it can be considered a science is if you could do the same thing over and over again and get the same result, and then you can learn the mechanics of it and break it down. So once it was seen that we do have influence over the energy, we can wield our energy in various ways. Some people use tools, like the wand. Some people use tools like the vision board. But we all have a command over energy if we so choose, and we can choose various ways to use it. There are 8 ways of what is the main magic. I mean, just like the chakras, there are 7 main chakras, but there are many other energy points that can be utilized. And the same way is with magic. There may be 8 main ways of it being categorized, but there are many other ways, and then you can combine the ways together and multiply its effectiveness. But they're all valuable tools. Between the herbs and the energies from other people pooling our energies together, that's how we can also maximize it, as well as after you've cleansed, hydrated, and cleared the way. You can use universal energies and take it to an even higher level of a quantum phenomenon. Psychic, is was called magic at one point as well. Anything like telekinesis, telepathic conversations, anything that teleporting or astral travel, all these things were considered magical. Are considered magical to those who don't know much about it, but were considered magical before they had experience or exposures to it. And energy isn't good or bad. Like they talk about witches. There's a white witch and there's a dark witch, or a black witch. But energy is not good or bad. It's all in how you utilize it. I remember when I first started thinking of magic, I used to speak on that it was the attention meeting the intention, and that's where the magic begins. But it goes even broader and higher and more detailed than that. But that's the basics of it. That if you, I used to listen to, what's her name? Abraham Hicks. I used to listen to a whole bunch of different people, including on The Secret, and including on, Michael and all these other people, including a workshop that I went to in January with one of my mentors, Billy Carson. And they talk about the quantum magic side of it, but they bring it into today's terms and today's language. And I believe that as we begin to dive into some of the quantum science, we begin to understand more about this world that we live in, the high and the low of it, the spirit and the physical of it, and how we can become avengers.
Right.
That
Speaking of becoming Avengers, precious mother love, we do have a question. And the
okay.
question was, how do artificial sources of radiation, such as cell phones, Bluetooth, and microwaves, affect memory? And what tools can we use to balance that? And I definitely wanted to jump in and answer that, because that is a major issue that we're all facing right now. You know, with the 5G coming, and, you know, we're all super connected, but not really connected, right? So, you know, when we're talking about this kind of energy, it is electromagnetic radiation. It's the same thing that's going on up here. It's the same thing that's going on in here. So yeah, all of that can definitely affect your memory, just in the same way that stress affects how you interpret, how you recall, how you store. All of those devices and this external energy can affect your processes as well. So I do remember mentioning us becoming the shield. Our first line of defense is ourself, and in order to become the shield, just like precious mother love was just saying, we might have to use a bunch of different tools in order to be that, right? So our first line of defense is our body, right? So we're going to be eating high vibrating foods. That means live foods on a regular basis in copious amounts. Other tools that we can also use to affect the energy around us, to rebalance ourselves, to help us vibrate higher, are things like sound therapy, color therapy, even. Today I'm wearing an orange shirt. Orange definitely helps us access our creativity. It helps us access our memory, our recall. It helps us to relate to others, and that will most certainly affect how we remember lots of things. Sound therapy is definitely one thing that we have not used enough, I think. We got Dr. Yu and Ketnu and Sister Precious Porter. They're always on the djembe. They're drumming all the time, and all of that is stirring up our emotions. It's putting us in motion. It's putting our energy in motion. I think Sister Precious band David's called Soul in Motion. Like, that's sound therapy, y'all. Okay, we've even got the sound bowl meditations. Doing using those in the midst of your meditation or prior to your meditation will definitely help open the channels, allowing you to center yourself, allowing you to enhance your own personal vibration, so you can block all of those extraneous electromagnetic waves and really be yourself, right?
Right. Well, I do want to also mention something I learned, and I got an email or a text message this morning that shared some information about 5G and how it relates or how it affects the body, because it has a
Amen.
frequency that it's a lower frequency, which is at a sickness level. So it brings down our frequency. We can't breathe as well. It affects our oxygen, affects our lungs, and that is lowering our immune system. So the lower frequencies come to us, meaning, the 5G, which is in, I believe, the 15 megahertz range. If you ride by one of those energy fields, you will feel the ground shaking, the vibrations from it, and that is impacting those buildings that it's attached to. It's impacting the people that's in those buildings. So from the foundation of the buildings to us individually, it is cutting off our oxygen, which cuts off our connection to our brain, which cuts off our lifeline. Our breath is life. So yes, it does affect our memories. We just have to make sure that we're doing the counteractive things that we're recommending here. I haven't actually recommended very many counteractive things, but hydration is one way to make sure that we're cleansing out some of those toxins. Deep breaths is another way. I can only reiterate what has been said here. I have nothing new to say, only definitely address your oxygen levels and breathe. Telling myself that too. Well, are
Right
we have
on.
any more questions, or Doc, Master Chef, you have anything else you want to follow up with? We have a few minutes before we'll be leaving.
Yeah. Just a reminder of black crystals. Pretty much any black crystals. The shungite that's in the water also is a protector of the EMF, the cell phones, the Wi-Fi, the radiation. black onyx, black tourmaline, even the hematite. So these are good protection stones, and some of them protect against not only the radiation of EMF, things like that, but also against the so-called lower vibration of fear. So which also can stifle us memory because of that fear. That's a vibration as well. So any black stones that you come across, shungite, black tourmaline, black onyx, they're excellent stones for just that, protect, something just to walk with, along with the other twos that was mentioned by Sister Stefan. So hey, there's a plethora. There's no wrong way to protect yourself. Ashe.
Exactly. Gird yourself up, put your shields up, raise your vibration. That's always a way to protect yourself. I also want to mention that if you haven't already become our friend, like us on Facebook. We have a few resources available for you: the Collective Health Initiative group, the Collective Health Initiative page. We are on all social platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We also have our website where you can find our services and each of our practitioners' specifics and offerings. We also will be discussing some of our next topics. As a matter of fact, I believe next week, oh gosh, as soon as I was about to say it, it flew out of my mind.
Yeah, but we actually have a question. Can drinking
Oh,
chlorophyll
yes.
help with 5G? So, absolutely, Tanya. Oxygen is an awesome thing to counteract any negative vibration. Absolutely. Chlorophyll is an awesome thing. It's green, it's life, it's living, and it's infusing your body with all the things that it needs. Well, the oxygen that it seriously needs to affect change on its vibration. So most certainly, drinking chlorophyll, doing things like juicing kamut wheatgrass. It's very detoxifying. Things like heavy metal chelation with your chlorella and spirulina. Absolutely. So go for it with that chlorophyll. Get juiced.
Exactly. Um, do you have anything coming up anytime soon, Stefan, you want to speak on? Or Doc, Master Chef, you have anything that's scheduled to come up soon on our calendar?
Nigga, just stay tuned to the Collective Health Initiative page on Facebook. Just keep flowing with the chi, baby.
Okay.
Flowing with the chi. And as a reminder
Peace.
to
Okay.
all, yeah, there's no wrong way to work your magic. These herbs, crystals, work your magic, baby. Cast your spells. Do you?
Peace,
And
everyone. Thanks for joining
this
us.
this Friday, I
Peace.
do have one thing on the calendar for myself. On this Friday, I'll be talking about sex magic, something I didn't really get into today, but on the Heart Happy Hour this Friday on Love Plus Art Equals Wellness, I will be presenting on sex magic this Friday at 7 p.m. Catch me there, and you may have another guest to also give us some more tips on sex magic as well, tantric, and a lot of other things. Stay tuned, and see us again next week here for the health class you never had, each Monday at 11 a.m. right here on the Collective Health Initiative page and our other social sources as well. One love and wellness. See you next